where I'm sitting right now, it's a culmination of 5 years of effort. And this goes beyond 5 years, but 5 years of Pano Media being a legitimate Canadian corporation providing a valuable service to other Canadian corporations in the realms of video production. And it is a business I started from my bedroom. So I'm joining you today on episode 42 of the Creatives Podcast inside of Midnight Hour Studios, outside of Pano Media HQ, which is right behind me. This was a prop closet, and it is now a rocket ship. I'm very proud of it. And that's something that happened this year. There's a lot that happened this year. And this episode, I'm going to reflect. I'm going to dive into my highlights of the year, my key takeaways, my struggles, some tools. As you can see, if you're watching this on video, you'll notice some tools, a fat stack of notebooks, which I will get into shortly, and some goals for 2026. So at the time of recording this, it is December 31st, 2025. And I find this time of year, and it's no surprise, I'm not the first one to discover this, but this time of year is phenomenal for reflection. There's something about the energy. Christmas has finished. The dust has settled. The millions of marketing campaigns have gone away. We're about to start a new year. We're about to start a new year. And where I live in Ottawa, it's cold and dark. So there's immense opportunity for introspection because it's cold and dark and the days are short. So there's not much else to do but think and work. Over the last few years, I've dedicated intentional time around this time of year to reflect, to set goals, and to wrap my head around the year that has just passed, process it, mourn whatever losses I may have had, start to visualize how I want the next year to look, where I want to go, what I want to build, who I want to meet. And that's exactly what we're doing today. So I did this just about a year ago. I did it in my living room. I figured it would be fitting today to do it at the studio because that is one of the key highlights of 2025. So without further ado, you're listening to the Creatives Podcast. My name is Ramzi. Let's dive in. So these are roughly in order that they happened, starting in January of 2025 and kind of moving forward. So I'm going to run through these and then talk a little bit about each one. So in January of 2025, I flew to Dubai to meet Suelio. Suelio Almeida is a racing driver, a racing coach, and he has an online academy called the Almeida Racing Academy, where he teaches people how to drive fast. And he uses deliberate practice, insane deep dives into technique that are understandable. And he's built a mega following on YouTube. He's got over 10,000 people enrolled in his academy. And I've witnessed firsthand the impact that he has on people. This time last year, he moved to Dubai for personal reasons, for business reasons. And a huge part of his business is content creation. He said, Ramzi, I need a studio. He moved into a 2-bedroom apartment, turned his house into a half-half hybrid studio living space. So I flew to Dubai with Marc-Andre from Vero Motion, and he built a simulator for Suelio, and I set up the set. Camera, lighting, audio, and then the set dress. And it was a wild week. We recorded a podcast actually the night before I flew back to Canada. It was like 3 a.m. We were like pre-adjusting for Eastern time because we had to be in Florida the week after. We recorded a podcast. So if you're interested in seeing like what that set kind of looked like, go back a couple episodes and check out the episode with Suelio. We built the studio, had a crazy week of running around the city of Dubai, going to furniture stores, electronic stores, camera stores, piano stores, getting everything together to build a studio. And since then, that studio has been up and running flawlessly, and he has created easily like several hundred pieces of content from that studio. He's recorded course material for his academy from there. He's done video calls. He's done live streams. It was beautiful to see throughout the year how he used that space because we built it in, honestly, not a lot of time, but it was modeled after his previous studio, which was in Montreal. I took what I learned from his studio, which I had a chance to visit before he left Montreal, applied it to here, applied everything I know about video production and cinematography and YouTube sets, podcast sets. We applied it there and it worked. So that was one of the coolest projects I've worked on, and I'm very proud of it. After that, and throughout the year, I traveled across the USA with the boys to film in IMSA racing. And if you don't know what IMSA is, it is, aside from NASCAR in the USA, IMSA is the highest level of racing that you can do in America. and in North America, actually. IMSA sees hundreds of thousands of fans. The cars are freaking cool. They're sports cars. You got Ferraris, Lamborghinis. You got crazy prototypes. The 24 hours of Daytona, Petit Le Mans, the 12 hours at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Crazy to think that we just spent an entire year hanging out with a IMSA pro-level team, racing a Hyundai Elantra TCR. And this is a championship-winning team. It was an incredible opportunity, and I learned a lot. So some of the main lessons, and this kind of ties into like one of the pieces of gear that's here beside me, filming at this level. So prior to this, in grassroots motorsports, we would just jump in, strap a camera wherever, and film it and make a story. It worked. It was reliable. We never had any incidents except for sometimes overheating cameras when it got hotter. And that's, again, why one of these things is a hero here. I'll get into that in just a moment. I learned how to navigate the bureaucracy of media licensing while filming at this level. And it pushed my limits as a producer because I'm a commercial video producer and a director and an operator. I wear a lot of hats, but one avenue I've been really leaning into in the last 2 years is being a producer. Being a producer, you're essentially putting all the pieces together. You are the project manager, if you will. If you're listening to this and you're outside of the industry, you're the manager of the project. You bring the people together, you organize funds, you organize accommodations, you organize licenses, you organize team, equipment plan. Biggest takeaway is as much notice as possible is always best. And people are always willing to help as long as you are friendly and communicative and you explain to them what you're doing and you're transparent with them about what you're doing. Over the course of the year, we managed to develop a 3-camera onboard system that could last in the car, in a hot race car, going 200 Ks an hour in some sections of the track, and the battery would last hours. At the longest race we had was 4 hours, so we needed the camera to last 6 hours because we have to start the camera before the car gets to the grid, and then after the race, we cannot touch the car for another, sometimes up to an hour, because if the car places in top 5, it has to go to a post-race inspection where it cannot be touched, otherwise car is disqualified. So we had to develop a system that could withstand heat, that could be powered for a long, long, long time, and that could cut through the reflections of plexiglass windows, because these cars have like plexiglass windows, which are a nightmare to film through because unlike glass, they reflect things. It's disgusting, but they're super light and they don't shatter. If there's ever an accident, they don't shatter like glass. So it's safer, it's lighter, makes sense from a race car perspective. From a filming perspective, it's a bit challenging. So using the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, 3 of these, 3 battery banks, a system of cables, mounting systems, safety systems so that if our initial mounts failed, these would not fall and hurt the driver or get stuck under a brake pedal. We started the year using GoPros, and after having many moments of unreliability from the GoPros, I was looking into a new system. So these could withstand higher temperatures. Max operating temperatures is at 45 degrees Celsius. And honestly, the UX on these, way better. So I'll get into more about this camera later on, but this is one of the heroes of 2025, the Osmo Action 5 Pro. I will never go back to using a GoPro unless they do something extremely crazy, but it's very unlikely because I'm pretty locked into the DJI ecosystem. And if you're inside of an ecosystem like Apple, DJI's ecosystem functions very efficiently, very similarly to the way Apple's ecosystem functions with their computers, their CarPlay radios, their earbuds, their phones, their watches. This ecosystem makes your life easier so you can focus on what's important, not troubleshooting equipment. So that's one of the major victories, I would say, is learning these systems, deploying them successfully, and taking all that research and development, and we will apply that into future race cars down the line. Challenges, like I said, licensing, red tape. We're entering into a realm that has been around for many, 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 many years. It is mixed in with the hands of NBC and these giant broadcasters that have insane budgets and insane restrictions on who and what can say things. We were sharing a paddock with Amazon Prime film crews. There was multiple crews shooting multiple documentaries at the same time. And we're out here, I'm talking me, Andrew, and Cameron. We're out here with our cameras, making it happen and reaching hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people with the content we're creating. So a lot of lessons in navigation, a lot of pushing us towards efficient processes, a lot of fun times with the boys in random towns across America. And I had quite a great time traveling across the America. This year, I went to Daytona, Florida, Sebring, Florida. I went to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, which is in Ohio. I went to Virginia International Raceway, which is in Virginia, right near North Carolina. I went to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I went to Atlanta. So that's 6 locations, and in total, we had 7 race weekends because in Daytona, we did 2. So that was a big part of the year. And moving into 2026, racing plans are not confirmed. It may be a bit of a sabbatical from racing, but other things are in the works. So more on that later in 2026. Another highlight, I ran 508 kilometers. I biked 714 kilometers. And this is substantial. This relates to something I heard a few years back when I kind of started my running journey. And it said, if you want to improve at anything, track it. So I downloaded Strava on my phone and I started tracking my running. I started tracking my biking. Sure enough, I started getting better. And to see the percentage increase between 2024 and 2025 was really cool and empowering. And I plan on continuing that journey using an application like Strava. Use whatever you want, just tracking stats and distance and being able to share that with a community, being able to look back on your progress and see how you did is empowering. It is exciting and it's fun. It's truly fun. I do recommend it. And don't be intimidated by people running like long distances or biking long distances. The most important thing is just doing it at your limit and your real limit. Push beyond what your mind tells you you can't do. So I invite you to explore that realm of motion. It has empowered me. I think it has a lot to do with full engagement of my body and speed. So cycling gave me the satisfaction for speed that I love, which is why I love racing cars. It's why I love motorbikes. It's why I love ATVs. Anything with speed, skiing. Cycling gave me the scratch that itch for speed and also engaged my whole body. And it gave me an adventure from my front door, which is really fun. Ottawa has an incredible network of pathways. Running also, it gave me the full body engagement. And as an individual who's often very busy and under a lot of mental pressure, decision-making pressure, and financial pressure, and all of those things are not bad. I'm just bringing light to the fact that there's high impact decisions that have to be made on a regular basis in the work that I do. So finding alternative realms to take me out of that mentally by engaging my entire body have been extremely valuable. And I'm going to continue that journey and I'll report back if I learn anything new. I ran a half marathon, 21 kilometers. I also injured myself in that half marathon, like badly. I could not walk properly for a week, and then I could not run for 2 months after that because I strained a muscle by not planning and preparing my body properly. It sucked. It was humbling, and I'm still recovering and finding my way back to where I was before. As I mentioned in the beginning of this, Pano Media HQ has been established within Midnight Hour Studios. That's huge. So to give you an idea of the path to get here, I grew up in my parents' house and I studied university. During university, I had a desk in my bedroom. At this desk, I got a university degree and it was my space. I had a desk and the bed was behind me. I had a computer and I learned to make the most of this tiny space. So in this tiny bedroom with the desk, I incorporated Pano Media. And from there, I began putting in the reps. I began making videos, learning, testing tools, all within my bedroom. A year down the line, I needed more space. It was COVID, so things were kind of closed down. I found my way to the basement of my parents' house. My mom really graciously let me convert a pretty big section of the basement into an HQ. And this was like my first HQ where I could curate the entire environment. It was a focused space for work. Yes, it was a hallway to get to the basement and the storage room, but assuming no one was walking through, it was an HQ where I could put my mind in my work and zone in private, uninterrupted, undistracted. So I did that. And that was immensely valuable. And so I started building. And so I had my sights set. Once I realized how valuable it was to have a focused space like that, I started seeking out a real space, a real office space. I started browsing office rentals in Ottawa, leases, entertaining different possibilities of partnering with people to share space and share cost. And I didn't really find anything initially, so I just kept working out of the basement. But one day I strolled upon Joseph Julian, who's a music producer and a good friend of mine. And at that time, I was starting this podcast. I had just shot episode 0, and I wanted to shoot episode 1. And I was a little nervous about it. The first person actually I bumped into at the time that I was working towards getting like episode 1 shot, I bumped into Joseph. We call him Joey. I bumped into Joey, and I said, hey, man, let's record a podcast. I'm starting this thing called The Creatives. I know you're creative, you're cool, I like your vibe, I like your style, let's do it. He said, all right, cool. He's like, meet me at the studio, which is this studio. And at the time, Joey was sharing an office with Nick, and Nick wasn't even here. Nick was out of town. So Nick allowed it. Nick said, yeah, no problem, Joey, do whatever you want. So we shot it just across the studio over there on the couch that you may very well know from many past episodes. We shot episode 1. It was cool. I learned a lot. The set was flat against the wall. There was no depth. So it's funny to look back on like what's changed, but that was like one of the most pivotal events now looking back, because that brought me into Midnight Hour Studios, which eventually brought me into a conversation with Nick Gaddis and Jen Bernard, who I had on the podcast back to back on episodes 7 and 8, I believe. I interviewed Nick, I interviewed Jen, and this gave me a chance to connect with both of them. And Nick and Jen are the founders of Midnight Hour Studios. They are also a couple and beautiful parents and really good friends at this point, as well as business partners. So it gave me a chance to meet Nick and Jen, who I hadn't previously met. Seeking out new connections was beginning, and it was beginning to build steam, and the garden was being planted. Nick offered me a membership of Midnight Hour Studios. He said, I'll give you 10 hours a month at a discounted rate to shoot your podcast. And I was like, perfect. And this was at a time where I was still working out of my parents' house. I had the basement, but it was a home, and I wasn't inclined to bring guests to the home and shoot there. The journey began years later, tens of episodes later. Nick and I and Jen built a really good relationship together. We hung out a lot. We spent winters in here. We spent summers in here. I would shoot things other than podcasts. I would do normal productions in here because the podcasts got me in the door. Once I realized what this space could do, I started having new ideas, and then I was shooting a whole multitude of content in here, and it was the most empowering and beautiful thing. So things evolved. My relationship with Nick evolved. He had an opportunity to see what I was capable of and how I carried myself through my work. I was also able to see the same in him. We clicked, and the opportunity arose to join forces with Nick and help him manage the space. At the time, Jen was having a baby, and Jen was Nick's partner and co-manager of the studio. So Jen had to take care of the baby, of course. And that's a whole other beautiful quest. And it's cool to kind of been part of it and still be part of it and get to know their young daughter. I joined forces with Nick. He said, I have a prop closet. You're looking at the prop closet. If you're watching this on video, have a look at the prop closet behind me. It's not a prop closet anymore. It is a video production headquarters. It is a camera building, camera testing space. It is an editing studio. It is an imagination studio. It is a place where you go to get locked in, to get shit done, And it is a culmination of years of learning how to maximize a small space. I looked at this closet and I said, yep, that'll do. We took some measurements, and then Ryan and I kind of created some digital drawings of the space to kind of visualize how we wanted it to look and how it could look. And then we got to work. And this was amidst traveling all over the place, shooting racing with Swelio. In between any time I had, we worked on this space. So we built this office, which is behind me. And this was in January of this year. And we were up and running by March, and things were going great. Honestly, it was great. I was working with Nick, managing the studio, managing the rentals, keeping the place clean and tidy, stocked up with anything that we needed in here. And it was strengthening our relationship and taking a huge load off him, because he was also, Jen was not just a new mom. Nick was a new dad at the time. So it was a beautiful time to kind of step up and put some effort towards this beautiful space that empowers not just me, but anyone who uses it. Time went on, and one day I get a call from Nick, and he said, hey, Ramzi, do you want to buy the studio? And I said, wait a second. Are you serious? He said, yes. The landlord called. He's selling it. He offered it to us. We have the first right to say yes before it goes on the market. Do you want to buy it? And I said, yes. This was in June. So we had set up the office. We had been operating it for a couple months. And there was no plan. There was no plan of buying this place. It was just like, I want an office for me and my team. And I want to also work in a space that other creatives use so that we can kind of share knowledge, share energy, share tools. And it was a beautiful result of pouring in a boatload of effort and energy and love into something, and it returning a really cool opportunity. And I continue to be fascinated by how the universe and the world returns to you what you put in it. It's not about what the world and what everything can do for you. It's what you can do for everything around you. So embodying this philosophy of giving everything and everyone and every opportunity all of my love, energy, and attention, this was no different. And it returned a really cool opportunity to buy Unit 17 at 174 Colonnade Road South in Ottawa, which is also known as Midnight Hour Studios. So we got to work. And it took 5 months and a lot of emails and phone calls and conversations and planning and risk assessing and like managing resources and funds to like make it happen. On October 17th, 2025, we became the owners of this commercial light industrial unit known as Midnight Hour Studios. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. And I won't bore you with the details of the corporate structuring that we did and all that. If you're interested, actually, please reach out, because I learned a lot about purchasing commercial property using corporations. If you're interested in chatting about that, feel free to reach out. But what mattered more was that this was a real life stake in the ground and a materialization of effort through this building, and an opportunity to infuse everything I have learned 5 years prior and applying it to this business, and using the resources of Pano Media as a video production studio to then market this business. And that's actually one of the main focuses of 2026. It's elevating, optimizing, and creating a profitable business out of Midnight Hour Studios, while keeping the beautiful philosophy that Jen and Nick started, while keeping the story alive about how this place came to be, while keeping the community alive, and honestly, just like having fun. So I'm really, really excited. And it's why I wanted to record this here today, because this closet office behind me, it's a rocket ship, because come on, look at it. It's really cool. I think it's cool. I visualized a glowing logo on the wall a very long time ago. That was like one of my visions. I was like, I want to see the Pano Media logo, the aperture blades, I want to see them on the wall glowing. And I just visualized that. I was like, it's going to happen. I didn't know how. I actually did not know how. I honestly thought it was going to be on the outside of a building. But this makes a bit more sense here. One day it might be on the outside of a building. I commissioned this sign to be made like 3 years ago and had it on the wall in my parents' basement. So it was really convenient that I had it when we moved in here, because it was just like a beautiful piece to finish the office and have it all lit up and kind of synced up with all the lighting in there. So one day we'll do an office tour, but for now, I just wanted to talk about how this space came to be, recording it right outside of the office and letting you know that Midnight Hour Studios carries on as a space that you can rent, that you can create content, you can host events, you can host workshops in here. You could do literally anything your heart and mind can imagine inside of Midnight Hour Studios. And the beauty of this space is it's operated and owned by people who understand. There is a collection of us who use this space with a crazy variety of skills and knowledge. So when you rent the space, you're not just getting this like lifeless, empty space to shoot. You're getting the knowledge and wisdom that we've learned across our careers and our journeys. It's infused into here. And oftentimes, if we have the chance, we're happy, like more than happy to assist, to advise, to help with anything we can to make sure that you have a successful shoot inside of here. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled, and you could probably tell by the tone of my voice, I'm thrilled that this exists, that it's an entity, it is a community, and it can be shared with everyone. More to come in 2026 on that. This year we shot a commercial for Minto Apartments at 88 Beechwood Avenue in Ottawa. Beechwood Village is an up-and-coming area in Ottawa, super close to downtown, right by the river, and it's actually right by one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in Ottawa, where the Rideau Hall is, some historic buildings. So it's a cool area, it has a cool energy, and Minto Apartments built this brand new apartment building that is pet-friendly. So it's a luxury apartment building that is pet-friendly and has amenities for pet owners. And that was our goal. Our goal was to showcase this beautiful space from the perspective of a dog. I didn't grow up with dogs, so I learned a lot in this project, and I had to study a lot for this project as the director and producer of this project. So we teamed up with Capital Film Wranglers to create a day in the life of a dog resident at 88 Beechwood. The name of the ad was "At 88 Beechwood, people are welcome too." It was the first production where we deployed an ARRI Alexa Mini LF. It was the first production where we deployed a Steadicam. It is the first production where we deployed a crew of this size. And it is the first production where we had animals, like professional animals with wranglers on set. So that was crazy. They were so good. Capital Film Wranglers, shout out to you. We shot a day in the life of a dog resident at 88 Beechwood, where Armani, who is like literally a famous dog with like multiple TV shows and movies, Armani, who's this like golden retriever, he wakes up, he goes about his day, he cross paths with his friend, he enjoys his day at the park, he meets up with his homies, and we showcased in a creative way like all of the varying amenities, and we created video assets, we created image assets, and these were all used for marketing the property. And we won an award. So the Federation of Rental Housing Providers of Ontario, also known as the FRPO, acknowledged this commercial with the best marketing campaign for rental housing providers in Ontario in 2025. So we won an award. Minto Apartments won the award, but the team was very much happy to celebrate that. And I'm extremely proud of that because it was new for all of us. It was challenging to move that many people and that many tools and that many dogs around an apartment building with tight hallways and like multiple floors. So proud of that. We shot a few films with the Cinema Drone, the Inspire 3 program, is alive and thriving. We continue to deploy that in specialized productions for the film industry, for commercial production, and for marketing assets. This year we shot 140 homes. We had a variety of vehicular adventures. Cars are a very important part of my life and the entire operation of Pano Media. Vehicles are what move us. It's what moves our tools. It's what allows us to test things and get places. And this year, at a couple track days, said goodbye to the Subaru station wagon, which served me and Pano Media well for 3 years. Said hello to a Golf station wagon, which is a newer version of the Subaru, essentially. It offers a lot of what the Subaru did. Four-wheel drive station wagon, looks cool, and fits a lot of stuff. And when it's not loaded, it's not this bulky thing that you got to lug around like an SUV or a truck. So brought on the Golf wagon into the fleet, tested and developed some chase car stuff, which I'm going to get into, which is what this stick camera here, Osmo Pocket 3. I'm going to go through the hero tools of 2025 in a moment, but that's some of the stuff we did with cars, was mounting cameras to them and deploying them in new ways, easier ways than ever before. Beyond that, on the personal front, my sister got married. That was a huge event for my family. It's just myself and my sister in the family, like as kids. So a very proud moment. It made me very proud of my family and my parents, because the journey that my parents have had to, first of all, make it to Canada and then give us the life that we had growing up and continue to have is like insane. Like, they lived through wars. They lived through a lot of people around them dying. They lived through poverty. They lived through hard times of like, there's no resources, there's no fuel, there's no food. So they lived through a lot of hardships. With my dad leaving to the UK in the 80s, not speaking a word of English, he lived through a whole other multitude of challenges there. But all of that to say is I'm very proud, and at my sister's wedding and in reflecting on that event, it made me feel very proud of my parents for having brought us here, brought us and built us a life to then be able to build our own lives from it. So it was an emotional moment. It was proud. It was happy. It was exciting. And it was a crazy party. And Nick actually shot the wedding, which was also beautiful, because it was like around the time we were like just about to close on the purchase of this place. So it was just cool to have him at that celebration and hang out together and have some good times. Jen was actually there too. And the photos are incredible. Their photography is so freaking good. And it's now impacted my life and my family's life. So crazy event. My mom turned 60. We threw her a really cool party at the studio. Beyond that, I explored Mexico City and the Oaxaca coast of Mexico, which is the west coast of Mexico. Mexico City is a very soulful place. It has a beautiful integration of like culture, nature, art, history. It gives a really like cohesive and beautiful experience. The energy is so cool, and there's like, the air is clean in a city with 22 million people. Like, I felt like the air was clean. There's trees everywhere. And I had some of the best tacos I've ever had in my life. So that was definitely a highlight of the year, was exploring Mexico City, exploring the West Coast, riding through the Mexican jungle on a Honda dirt bike. Just peak life activities, things that make me very happy, and things I want to continue doing in my life. I really don't need much in life. Some good food, some good weather, and a good vehicle to explore. Those are my main highlights of 2025. I'm going to go into some key takeaways from this year and some struggles, because although it sounds like things were all fine and dandy, and they were really good, there's still some things that I struggle with. So I want to share those. So I'll start with key takeaways. Cultivating a state of energy is everything. Running, biking, lifting, socializing. Most importantly, exiting the comfort zone under your own will and finding energy from it. So oftentimes we may find ourselves not wanting to do something, or only doing hard things when someone else tells us to do those hard things. Over the past couple of years, I've learned that choosing to do the hard things and then following through cultivates a state of energy that is unmatched. There's nothing else in this life that can give you the energy that willingly doing hard things will give you. So I've found that energy through, like I said, running, biking, lifting, socializing, pushing yourself to engage socially at events, parties, coffee meetings, whatever it may be, pushing through that resistance to then explore, learn, gain perspective, and cultivate energy. I highly recommend leaning into the resistance that you may feel from those hard things. And I also recommend choosing to do hard things and showing up to them. I'll never forget, Andrew told me once, Andrew Fantafong, good friend of mine, he told me once, why do we get up at 6 a.m. for other people? Why is it so easy to just get up? We get up at 6 a.m. and we show up to a job, to a shoot for someone else. Why don't we do that for ourselves? And I was just like, you're actually very right. Like, why don't we? Because it's easy. Like, it's easy to not be accountable and be like, whatever. There's no real consequence. Let's be honest. If you say I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow at 8 a.m. and you don't go to the gym tomorrow at 8 a.m., there's no real consequence. It's just you didn't go to the gym, and you're either going to forget about it or you're going to be like disappointed with yourself and then feel a type of way. And that's going to like trickle. But the flip side, if you say, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow morning, and you go to the gym tomorrow morning, you're like, nice. I said I was going to do it, and I did it. And the compounding of that yields a beautiful energy. My exploration in these realms continue. My capacity is finite. I found limits this year. I found limits of my output in taking on the responsibility of managing the studio, owning the studio, managing my production company, while still trying to have an active, healthy, social, family-oriented, friend-oriented life with hobbies. It's like all the things. I found limits of my output, like truly. And it kind of knocked me down because in my head and my heart, I wanted to do more, but I couldn't. I did not have the energy. So I started learning to design my life to get the most out of my varying states of energy and varying availabilities of energy. And by this, I mean switching around sleeping habits, changing around when I work, what I do during those times. So noticing that first thing in the morning, I'm really good at emailing, planning, scheduling things. As the day progresses, I find myself more inclined to do like the editing, creative work. And in the evenings, I want to just be a human being and exercise and see people and drive cars and just go about my life. But also, this isn't rigid. I'm still experimenting. That's generally what seems to be working. And I'm continuing to design my life in favor of my varying states of energy. In the Pano Media front, I'm very proud of our production processes. I'd say they're running pretty freaking optimally. Our pre-production processes, they need some work. They're really good, but I'm interested in designing a very beautiful production experience for the clients, for the crews, and for the viewers of whatever we're creating. So that is a main focus of 2026, is continuing to develop that further than what it already is. And journaling over time. This year marks just about 5 years or just over 5 years of journaling. So you may have noticed these are field notes books. Shout out Peter McKinnon for this recommendation. So field notes books, these go with me everywhere. These are all full field notes books. And I just wanted to bring these here. One, because they're a nice prop on the table, but just to put in perspective how much I've been writing over the last 5 years. These are all full. All of these notebooks are full. Some are personal journals. Some are daily carry journals, like the field notes. Some are scribbly desktop notebooks. But most importantly, plus this one, this is the podcasting notebook where I write notes, show notes. Most importantly, it was a frequent and regular practice of writing. Putting my thoughts on paper over an extended period of time has literally changed my life. And it sounds so simple. And it sounds so daunting. Why is it so hard to just write down on a piece of paper? What do I write? What do I talk about? Those are the Oftentimes, when I encourage people to write, the first thing they say, I don't know what to write about. I'll tell you how I start. I write the date. I write the time. I write down where I am. Sometimes I write about the weather. Sometimes I write about what I've done in the events leading up to me writing. And that's usually enough to just get me going. No judgment, full privacy. That's the most important part. No judgment, full privacy. Put your mind on paper and grow from it. I love these. I love the Field Notes books. Like they're the size of a passport. They look sick. They fit in your pocket. They fit in your satchel. They fit anywhere. You can beat the crap out of them. They're really durable. You got 48 pages, different types of, this one is dotted. We have blank ones here. There's lined ones here. So these are all completed. I have a freshie that I just cracked open the other day. There's actually nothing in this one yet, but there will be. Just a great tool. Also, sidecar, there's a ruler. There's literally a ruler here to measure stuff. Actually has come in handy more often than you'd think. So, journaling over time. I highly encourage it. It's changed my life. It's gotten me through hard times. It's gotten me through good times. And in preparing for this episode, I was actually looking back on these journals here and kind of smiling and like, holy crap, like this, like only 2 years ago, reading what I was writing down, the things I was challenged by, the things I was excited about, and like having this like documentation of how my mind has evolved over time has showed me how much I've grown and how like the things I was worried about 2 years ago are like not even relevant anymore. They're not even on my radar. So it's an incredible indication of progress. And that indication of progress is empowering and energizing. And circling back to what I was saying about cultivating states of energy, writing in solitude, sometimes you can do it with other people, but I prefer to write in solitude because I like to focus. Writing in solitude has cultivated a very beautiful outlet of thought and energy, and it has also allowed me to cultivate a very beautiful state of energy and mind through my days. I often journal in the morning with a coffee while listening to spa music and no interruptions. Freaking beautiful. I highly recommend it. I could talk about this forever. But let's move on. Struggles. I am not perfect. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I'm capable of a lot. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I never make mistakes. I eat shit all the time, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I learn from it. And it humbles me. And it reminds me that I'm human. This year, I've struggled with building routine. It feels hard to build routine. Like over the last 5 years, I've kind of just been all over the place in my routine. Like I've anchored myself in a morning routine, which has been super handy. And that has given me a really good foundation. But beyond the morning routine of like light, hydration, movement, journaling, a routine beyond that has been non-existent. And it's been fine. I go to the gym at different times. I exercise at different times. I eat at different times. I eat a variety of things. I don't have like a meal prep day. I do laundry on like different days of the week. I clean my house whenever I feel like it. Like it's just, there's no routine. I grew up in a household that had a lot of routine. My mom, bless her, she's one of the most amazing humans in the entire world. She's a very routine-oriented person, and so is my dad. And that is how they built such like a stable life for us, through routine. And for me, I wanted to go like the complete opposite direction. I was like, take me away from routine. I don't want any of this shit. I just want to be free. Now, I'm 29. I'm 5 years into this. And I'm like, I need routine. I'm like craving it. So this kind of like sporadic weekly schedule, it doesn't seem to be serving me anymore. So I'm going to be experimenting with building more routine with myself, with my girlfriend, with my work, with my employees, with my team, just building more of a routine with other people and having that repeat, and we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you posted, because at the point of recording this, it feels very daunting to endeavor on that kind of rigidity. I like freedom. Beyond that, pacifiers. Numbing your brain and your body with whatever it may be. This is something I don't often talk about publicly. If I'm struggling with it, there's probably other people struggling with it. So when I say pacifiers, it's a funny term. Pacifier is what a baby sucks on. They're like rubbery, just helps soothe them when they're stressed. Honestly, probably be pretty helpful as an adult. But my friend Swelio calls his phone a pacifier. I just thought it was like a funny word, but I see pacifiers as anything that soothes you in discomfort. So high dopamine activities such as social media scrolling, junk food, nicotine, weed, alcohol, porn. I'm sure there's more. Those are, as a man, the pacifiers that seem to want to take your attention. Over time, I've learned how to control the triggers that bring these on. And at the point of recording this, really the main pacifier that makes things a bit hard for me is weed. I've been addicted and then unaddicted to nicotine like many times in my life. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit of nicotine. It helps you through a situation. And then you end up going down this long road of like, shit, I don't want to be doing this. Weed is one of those things that has kind of served my life over the last 10 years. It got me through university, hard days at work in a kitchen, hard mental days. I have a lot of mental pressure, and I found that weed often released it without damaging my body. Alcohol is high in calories, lots of sugar, and it kind of hurts your body to drink alcohol. So I would smoke weed fairly regularly as a tool, as an outlet. And as the years went on, it started serving me less and less and less and less, but I was finding it hard to let go. So this year, I've been really working on dialing that back, and it continues to be a struggle to kind of control it. The most effective way I've found is like out of sight, out of mind. So as long as I can create an environment where it's not available, I'm good. And then beyond that, it's going to be controlling myself in uncontrollable environments where I'm not choosing to walk by someone smoking a joint, smelling it, and thinking about it. That's where I will be tested. Pacifiers, I recommend really, really taking a look at the things that you use to numb your brain and your body and soothe you in discomfort. And I'm not advocating for living this like robotic life where you never enjoy anything. I think a glass of wine shared with friends is like one of the most beautiful things. Social media has the potential to inspire us and connect us. But again, it's how we're using it. And I'm just interested in advocating for healthy habits and an acknowledgement of how and what we are using to numb ourselves so that we can be healthier and honestly more connected with one another. Because oftentimes a lot of these pacifiers, they take us further away from one another, which is ironic because they're supposed to bring us together. But they don't always do that. So for anyone listening to this and perhaps struggling in silence like I have been, I understand. And if you ever want to chat, please reach out. I'd love to chat. Just kind of navigate this together so that we can collectively combat things that are trying to steal our energy, and we can live a life that is more true to what we want, what we believe in, and what we love. All right. That was a lot. If you're still with me, thank you. A couple things I want to do to wrap this up. I want to highlight some of the heroes of 2025. And we live in a day and age where we have so many freaking tools available to us. So much cool stuff came out this year that like it doesn't even matter anymore. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter like that you have the best camera. Who cares? Like whether we shoot something on a Sony or an Ari, as long as it has a compelling story, that's really all that matters. I still want to highlight some tools that empowered us this year, changed our operation process, and just inspired new energy. So as I mentioned earlier in this episode, starting with the Osmo Action 5 Pro. If you've ever used a GoPro, this functions very much like a GoPro in that it is a small, durable, waterproof action cam. GoPros were proving to be unreliable in a hot race car. We looked into this system. The UX is incredible. You can connect microphones directly to it. Stabilization is amazing. And most importantly, the image is amazing. It is actually a beautiful image that comes out of this camera when you expose properly and you dial in the settings properly. It's quite undifferentiable from the main cameras, because these are often in spots where you can't put a big camera, but it matches up super well. Osmo Action 5 Pro, I highly recommend looking into this if you're looking into action cameras. Osmo Pocket 3 with the coolest screen ever. This reminds me of those old phones that had the sliding keyboards, but this is literally like a drone camera on a stick. And again, you can connect microphones to this and you can mount it in a multitude of ways. And that is how we used it most. Actually, I used it in two ways. I used this as a personal video camera because this was very easy to bring on a bicycle with me, to bring on vacation, just to bring it around while we're traveling, shoot some cool content. Like I said, you can connect microphones straight to it. So you get a crispy image with excellent audio. And as we know, audio is 50% of the experience. So being able to do that is huge. Osmo Action 5. Where we used it the most impactfully was hanging off the side of a car. So we got what was called the MovMax blade arm. And because this is stabilized on 3 axes, given, as you can see, it's a gimbal. So you get roll, you got tilt, and then you got pan. 3 axes with a car and a suspension and bumpy roads. We needed a 4th axis of stabilization. So the arm that we got for it gave us that 4th axis of stabilization, and it allowed us to mount this. Within 5 minutes, we could mount this safely to a car and film another car in motion. We could film anything in motion for, honestly, very cheap, very efficient, and very effective. The images that we can pull from this thing are insane. And I understand, normally when you want to mount a crazy Cinecam to a car, the results, you won't compare. They can't be compared. The results of mounting an RE or a Sony or something with a real lens to a car and putting it in motion, unmatched. It's also very cumbersome, very expensive, and a lot higher risk to do that. With this thing, you're looking at a $1,200 system that is pretty durable. I'm confident that if this thing fell off the car, it would probably be fine. And it's super light, so it's less likely to fall. So suction mount it with some safety straps, hop in the car, use your phone, and then you can control the camera, start, stop, record, and you can film some insanely high quality rolling video. So crazy tool. I'm freaking so pumped with this, and I can't wait to see what they do when they revise this camera and put out a version 2. Fujifilm X100 VI. Honestly, I quit shooting film because of this camera. Don't get me wrong, I loved shooting film. It reminded me how cool photography is. It empowered me to get back to shooting photography at a time where I was really diving into the video production and I had kind of parked photography. So I got deep into film, and then I started spending a boatload of money on film. And I was a little unsettled by how much money I was spending on film, and the process was becoming a little bit more cumbersome, but I still loved it. So my good friend Felix has the version prior to this, and I got to spend a lot of time with the camera, get to know it. I'm actually going to shoot a photo right now. Let me just do that. Nice. I got to know the version prior to this, and then really honestly fall in love with it and create some beautiful memories with it. So when this came out, I picked it up right at the end of 2024, so a year ago. I was interested, so I bought it. I waited a long time to get it, and it arrived at the end of 2024, and it became my main personal camera. I would bring this thing everywhere with me, and I've shot some of my favorite memories on it. It does incredible video. It's a very powerful camera, packs a punch, small. You can chuck it in your pocket while you go skiing, strap it around your neck while you go to the beach. You could bring it everywhere. And it's a philosophy that film reminded me of. Small form factor cameras are great. And form factor is really important. If you can have a beautiful image in a form factor that creates the least amount of friction between you and taking photos, it's worth the investment and hopefully will last with me for a long time. That's the main tools. And there's a lot of tools that were heroes and we used a lot, but those are the ones I wanted to focus in on in this episode of some of the heroes of 2025 because of like how much they use. Like this camera went around many major racetracks in America. So those are the tools I wanted to highlight as some of the heroes of 2025. They're all very accessible, quite affordable tools that can like literally change the game for you. You can deploy them in a number of ways. And if you have any experience using any of these, let me know. I'd love to see how you've used them, what you've created with them. And finally, and most importantly, goals for 2026. Whenever you're listening to this, I do recommend creating some goals for the year and writing them down. Yes, writing them down. I'm going to put this episode out ideally in January, so it's never too late to create goals. Don't let like a calendar day be the reason you set goals for yourself. So like literally write these goals down, and the likelihood of them coming true increases like so much just by writing them down. Just by writing them down. Imagine you want a Porsche and you write down on a piece of paper, I will buy a Porsche. Imagine what was standing between you and getting the Porsche was writing it down. Just writing it down. Not obviously you got to pay some money and organize it, but if writing down the goal on paper gets you closer to it, it's a freaking no-brainer. Just do it. Just do it. It takes like no effort to write on paper, and it is so empowering. So, goal setting. For me, this is me as Ramzi coming at you as a video director, producer, studio owner. These are my goals for the year. Midnight Hour Studio is becoming a well-oiled machine and profitable, leveling up the content that we create on the Pano YouTube channel. No weed, more art, optimizing the Pano production experience for clients, crews, and viewers. Race with my body, running and or biking, just signing myself up for one or more races to push me to train towards something. I would like to go to Lebanon to explore my cultural roots. And I'd love to take 1 to 2 vacations to gain perspective and calm the nervous system on a regular basis. I learned this year how valuable it is to step away from everything on a regular basis. This year I didn't do it as much as I would have wanted to, but every time I did it, I was reminded how much I need to regularly reset my nervous system by just being in nature and being away from a city. Dogs out in the dirt, making a campfire. Doesn't have to be extravagant. Literally, like I pack up my station wagon, go to the bush, make a fire, swim in a lake. It's that simple. More of that in 2026. Regulating the nervous system so that I can be a more effective businessman, athlete, creator, and host of this show. So that's it. Seriously, thank you. Thanks to everyone who supports the journey. Thanks to everyone who relates to the journey and shares back with me the experiences that they've had or been inspired to do because of something we've done together. Thank you to the clients that support us. Thank you to Jen and Nick for bringing me on as part of the Midnight Hour Studios family and enabling this to exist. Thanks to you for listening to the Creatives podcast. And just thanks to everyone in my life who empowers me and supports me to be who I am. And that's it. I'll leave it there. I wish you all the best in 2026. I wish you control over your mind. I wish you peace in your emotional and mental state. I wish you strength in your body and your movements. And I look forward to seeing you soon. There will be more to come in the year. I'm still wrapping my head around exactly how the year will unfold. Inevitably, we'll see each other. So, you're listening to the Creatives Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow the show, share it with a friend. I'm Ramzi, and we'll see you again on another episode.